So you may be wondering, what is this big misconception about self-awareness? What could we possibly be missing here? I mean, this term is so fundamental, it's common sense, right? Well, not quite. On this episode, I will reveal the answer to this lingering question. We will also talk about what self awareness is, what it's not, why it's important, and what's the downfall of not building it. Listen in now. Hello, and thank you for joining. I am Dee Dee, your host and your friend in faith. And this is the Sincerely Dee Dee's podcast. This show is all about, just helping you to be all that you were called to be so that you can reach your fullest potential for becoming who God is calling you to become. Okay. So I'll be talking about life and career topics, just things that we deal with on this journey. But I will be looking at it, through this lens of faith and spirituality. So if you or someone is all about growth and developing and wanting to be equipped and empowered, to just navigate the ebbs and flow of our personal and professional life, this is the podcast for you. Okay. So I look forward to having you on every week, every Tuesdays, because I'll be right here and I hope you'll be joining me again. But before I go forward, let me just give a shout out to the OG podcasters. Okay. I have always admired what y'all have done, but I have a greater appreciation and respect for the work that you do because to create content for your listeners, for your audience, it has to be a labor of love because it's a lot that goes into this. And so I salute y'all, but I also salute those who are new to this and who's just trying to find their way like me. So please have patience and grace with your new podcasters. But to the new podcasters, I encourage you to just keep going. Okay. So, before I say anything about this mystery topic, this whole misconception about self-awareness, I do want to make a disclaimer, okay? I am not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist. I am degreed in psychology, okay? But I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am not a practitioner, social worker, any of those things. I am giving you this from my point of view, from my experience, what I have researched and learned, about self awareness for myself. And so I'm using this as an opportunity to be able to share it. And hopefully you can glean your own lessons and your own little jewels from what I'm saying. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get into the trenches of this topic as to why you're even here today. Okay. So this is my first ever episode. So y'all see me. I'm looking cute. I got cute for y'all. Now y'all might not always get all of this all the time. All right. You might not see it all the time. At least for those who are watching on YouTube. But for all of the rest of the listeners on Spotify and Apple and these streaming, platforms where you hear my voice, you'll get this sultry, uh, this sultry, inspiring encouraging voice. But I'm being silly, y'all. All right, I'm just trying to have fun with this. But okay, so what is this biggest misconception about self-awareness? So like I said, I've been researching this for quite some time, because I have kind of been on this my own journey about self-awareness, especially when I started, you know, during 2022, which my self-proclaimed year, the awakening, which you can go to my website and read my about section and learn about what that is all about. But through reading a little bit more of it, I really thought I was on and popping with self-awareness. I thought I had it in the bag. But the more and more I dived into it deeper and deeper, I realized that, sis, you might be slacking just a little bit. Okay. And the reason why is this is because we actually think that we are more self aware than we actually are. That's really what the misconception is. that you think you are more aware than you actually are. And you think that you've mastered it. You think that you got this thing in the bag. And I can hear a lot of y'all right now like, girl, I'm sorry. I know who I am. Okay. I have been living in this body, occupying this space for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. Okay. Who doesn't know who they are? But I would say that's probably the same reason why, or maybe to some extent, you're improving, or not improving. Y'all hear me? Lord have mercy. That you are actually proving what my point is. And so, literature and research kind of tells me, something a little different. And here's why. So, the same reason why you think that you're self-aware is really the reason why you're not as self-aware as you think you are. Okay. Let me say that one more time. The reason why is because you think that you're more self-aware than you actually are. And, that comes with being subjective beings, right? We're people who feel. We have our own feelings. We feel our way through a lot of things, and guess what? Our feelings aren't always accurate. We identify our feelings on like a surface level. It's very surface, and so we don't really do the deep diving to really understand what's beneath the surface. We don't look for the specifics. So let me give you an example. We say, I'm scared. I'm scared. Period, point blank, surface, that. But are we asking the questions like, what am I scared of? Or what is it about this thing that makes me scared? Or what experience has caused me to think that this is scary? Deeper, right? Deeper meaning, understanding. So inquiring, having that inquiry kind of helps us get those specifics that we need. But there's more to this point as to why I say we have this misconception is because it's how we define self-awareness. So I want to, give a definition of self-awareness, just to give us a little bit more context, make sure we're on the same page, that we all talking about the same thing here. So, like many words, right? Many definitions. We describe it many different ways, but at its best, we're there's this common meaning. And so I like this definition that was proposed by psychologists Shelley Duvall and Robert Wickland, which are actually the psychologists who created the self-awareness theory. And they defined it as self-awareness is the ability to focus on yourself and how your actions, thoughts, or emotions don't align with your internal standards. If you're highly self-aware, you objectively evaluate yourself, you manage your emotions, you align your behaviors with your values, and you understand correctly how others perceive you. Okay, not subjectively, objectively evaluating ourselves and being able to correctly understand how people perceive us. So, basically, in meaning is saying that we have this conscious knowledge about our thoughts, about our feelings, our character, our personality, our motives, our desires, and our ability to interpret, what that is from an objective standpoint. Okay, that's the key word, objective, meaning that when we're highly self-aware of ourselves, we're not influenced by how we feel, personally, surface. That's not what we look at. What we look at is what is the fact. Irregardless of my personal feelings, what is the fact about what I am feeling? So that just probably canceled out a whole bunch of y'all, that's listening in or watching. Um, because we think it's easy. We think as human beings we should have this innate ability, to be self-aware. It's a natural human process. But when you look at this definition, when you look deeper into it, what you see is that this high level sense of awareness, it's difficult. It's difficult to get there. That's why self-awareness is really a a rare skill. When I think back about my upbringing as a child, or just people that I know and how they were raised, I think about it sometimes like, I wonder if this gap that we have in self awareness has anything to do with how we were raised. Raise your hand if um, you got a spanking, or being a Southern girl, we got whoopings. Okay, that's what it's called. Uh, but did you ever get a spanking? If you didn't, okay, just kinda just stay with me right now. But if you can relate, how many times did you ever get that spanking or that whooping and you're told, "You better not cry." Like, what do you mean, "I better not cry?" Or they tell you, "You better not cry or I'm gonna give you something to cry about." Like, who comes up with this logic? Why did they tell us this as kids? Like, that is, like, so counterintuitive. I'm sure when I did, which I very rarely, because I was a good girl, but I'm sure, when we were disciplined, it was for a reason, right? It was to correct us. I mean, the Bible says, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." And I know my parents believed by it, my grandparents and my grandparents' parents, they believed in that. But how are we not supposed to feel when something has caused us pain, right? Like, we're gonna feel that. So we're gonna have a emotion with it. Or like when we tell little boys, that they are supposed to grow up and not have emotions or show emotions, that they don't supposed to cry, like they aren't human beings. And then so we end up growing up, and we've taught these human beings to ignore and suppress their emotions. Um, and then you wonder why you have these people that morph into, people who are resentful. They have anger issues. They suffer from depression, or, on the other spectrum of this, they start vocalizing how they feel, but it's in the form of blaming. Uh, it's not willing to take responsibility. Just a total disregard for people, bullying. So we see it play out in this way. So it becomes this handicap. So as you can see, I hope that you can see why I think there's this misconception behind what general population think self-awareness is. So we're not alone, because most of us, if you're listening in, tuning in, we probably fall in the 85 to 95, 85 to 90% majority of the people of the population that believe that they are already self-aware, but actually don't measure up. Because the reality is that there's only 10 to 15% of people who actually meet this standard or this criteria according to the research. Now, whether or not a person can actually be objective, of themselves, is a long-lasting debate, in the history of philosophy. But this is where theory comes in. This is where it kind of plays in. So, in theory, what it says is the reason why we can be self-aware, is because we are not our thoughts. This is why we can, think objectively. We're not our thoughts. We're thinkers, right? But it's two entities. It's two entities that are separate of one another. Me, the thinker, and my thoughts. And so as a result, I'm able to observe my thoughts in an objective way with all the personal stuff. So that's what theory says, right? Deep. Little deep for you. Okay, so let me make it a little plainer. We can be objective to our thoughts because we are always evaluating ourselves to see, how our thoughts line up with those internal standards or those values that we have set for ourselves. So we can literally go about our day, we feeling. thinking, acting, not even thinking about inner self, just going naturally, through the process. But in the same vein, be able to have attention in this sense of awareness of our inner selves to judge, the rightness of my thoughts, of my behavior, and does it, line up. But here's where we get on the spiritual level. When I think about the word of God, because that should be our measuring stick, in terms of what we think and what we believe, and who we believe ourselves to be in the world. Like that should be how we measure things up. But that does speak to self-awareness. And so I looked up some scriptures and I came across a few, and I'm gonna, read them and share them with you. And so the first one is in Second Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. This is Paul when he's wrote the letter to the church of Corinth. And he's basically telling us how, or telling them, which in the New Testament is for us in modern day, how we should be examining ourselves and testing ourselves. And in that context, he was saying whether, we are in the faith, do we live up to, you know, the people who we say we are Christians. In Romans chapter 12, verse 3, it says that we are not to think of ourselves too highly, rather, with sober judgment, meaning to see ourselves objective, without pride, without delusion, to be honest and real with ourselves. Um, and, basically just completely taking the personal out of it, and there's also another measure. And so it says, by the faith that God has assigned us. So we're measuring ourselves up to that. We also have Proverbs, which we know is full of all good gems and wisdom. But in chapter 14, verses 8, it says that the wisdom of prudence. So that's someone who kind of cares about, or who is advised about just the future. They have a good sense of themselves and just their wisdom. And it says basically that he's able to discern his ways. He's able to recognize and distinguish the difference. But the folly of fools is deceiving. And so this illustrates like the lack of wisdom, by always trying to get over on people. Um, but when it's all said and done, being a fool, you are the one that is hurt in the end. You only hurt yourselves, okay? So it's constantly talking about these key points. So I see that correlation between being honest with ourselves and self-evaluating ourselves, reflecting on that measure. Does it align with who we're supposed to be or with our standards? Um, so I'm sold. I'm sold on the fact that um, self awareness is something that's important and is necessary for our lives. And really, I mean, it's important because it gives us the clarity about how we are to think and how we are to act, and not just as ourselves, but just how that impacts the people that are around us, who's in our circles of influence, even those who we don't know. But when we compare ourselves to the standard, you know, whether that's what we set for ourselves or what we kind of go by, the Bible, or whatever, our faith is, which honestly they're one and the same, that should be our standard. Um, we should be looking at, does it measure up? Does it meet the burden of proof? And if how we feel, how we behave doesn't line up, do we realign? Do we realign and say, okay, this is not what it is. I need to really think about this for what it is, fact, objectively, um, so that we can get the outcomes that we are really trying to get. Now, y'all may say, girl, this don't have nothing to do with nothing. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. But for those who see why I say we have this misconception and why we need to get better at it, if we don't do it, it becomes our downfall. it becomes a downfall. Because when we don't increase our self-awareness, we create problems for ourselves. I mean, we really do. When we lack that skill, we don't know how to process our feelings. That's why we be, acting a fool, spiraling, just having a whole emotional meltdown because we can't even recognize that our thinking and our behavior patterns, is a part of the problem. It's a part of why we have the problems that we have. We don't even know who we are. We can't even have just our perception of who we are is ever changing. One day, I'm this, or I don't know who I am, or I think I know who I am. And when we're not sure of ourselves, if we're not confident about who I am, that's why we have low self-esteem issues. You know, we make poor choices. We don't know how to take, or accept responsibility. These are all those downfalls. It's the ingredients that, really is for disaster. And so I don't want y'all to self-destruct. I don't want you to self-destruct at all. Nope, not on my watch. And so we got some work to do. And we're gonna definitely do some work to, increase our skills. So you may say, all right, I'm sold too. How do I start? What am I supposed to do to become more self-aware? And I'm glad you asked. See, I told y'all we are on the same page. But here's a few points to get started. You know, there's no definite finished final destination for self-awareness. So I want to make that clear. Okay. It's not do A, B, C, and D. And voila, fall in the 10 to 15% of people who are self-aware, like at the highest level of self-awareness, because it's something that is continuous. It's something that we're always going to be working through because we evolve, right? As Paul says in the Bible, when I was a child, I thought like a child, but when I grew up, when I became a man, I put away those childish things. And so what we may think or feel or how we may behave 5 years ago may not necessarily be the same way that we're going to think in the 5 years ahead, because we change, we evolve, and there's so many things that influence that change that can make us change and evolve in that way. But let's get to points. How to get started. So first, envision it. Okay, envision it. Visualize yourself being the best person that you could possibly be. I don't care if you think you already are halfway there or nowhere near it. Visualize it. Who do I want to be in this ideal perfect world? What will my hopes look like? What are my dreams? What abilities, what skills do I have? What accomplishments would I make? What are my achievements? Envision it. Okay, that's what we want to visualize ourselves as. And we want to create a vision statement for our lives. If you've never done it and haven't done it, it's something you want to do because that would kind of help connect the dots between the internal and the external. When you feel overwhelmed, or when you feel lost, or when you don't understand your purpose, it kind of serves as your northern star, to kind of guide you where you need to go. That's something you can always go back and reference and look at when you're trying to kind of figure that out. Okay. The third point is to self-reflect. Okay. That's really what the foundation essence of self-awareness is, to self-reflect, but self-reflect with what questions, okay? As people, we tend to always say, "Why? Why did this happen to me? Why? Why? Why?" But we don't wanna ask why because that's what sends us spiraling because we're relying on what? Subjective, personal feelings, that again could lead us to inaccurate information about why we're feeling the way we feel. So we ask what because what keeps us in the objective, and it basically allows us to consider what is actually fact and what is influencing, you know, outcome of that experience that we're having. Name your feelings. That's the next point. Name it. Name it and claim it. Okay. Um, you have to call it out. You got to call it out for what it is. Use I statements if you have to. I feel attacked. Okay. I feel judged. I feel angry. This just kind of brings awareness to the physical state because usually when we're up in arms with our feelings, we start to see it in the physical state. Okay. Our heart starts pumping. Lungs might get sweating. It's all over our face, right? We got a whole attitude, all these nonverbals. But it begins to connect it, you know, when we're able to call it out as it occurs. So when we call it out, we start to recognize, like, okay, I know I'm feeling judged. I know I'm feeling judged. But I know that if I'm looking at this objectively, this might not be that person judging me. So I'm rewiring. If I kind of got a tongue twist with that, but y'all follow me, okay? I'm rewiring my brain to think about it different, where I can step back for just a moment, and just look at it and be willing to give space to evaluate objectively, what is happening before I react, before I respond, or even make any type of decision. Okay. So, those are some ways to just get started. It's so many things out there about, how we can, that could help us to build our awareness, our self awareness. And if if I wanted to or you wanted to, we could be on here all night, all day talking about it. But that's not what we're going to do because I value your time. I value my time. So, this is what we're going to do for the rest of the week. I'm going to be sharing with you information, tools, resources to help you level up your self awareness. Okay. So, in fact, tomorrow I am going to release a vlog to kind of share with you how I cultivate, build my own self awareness each day. Okay. So you don't want to miss out on that. So stay tuned, check it out. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Sincerely Dee to just be notified when these releases are happening, especially when the vlog comes out tomorrow. I'll also be sharing a lot more about self awareness on my social media. So if you haven't started following me on Instagram and Facebook at Sincerely Dee. That's my handle. And oh, if you want to join my growth and development and growth community, visit my homepage at my website, www.sincerelydede.com, and sign up under the section Grow Where Your Feet Are Planted. And lastly, give this video a like. If you're on YouTube or if you're on a streaming platform and you can, like it, subscribe it. Definitely do that because I welcome your feedback. It's valuable to me as an amateur podcaster. And tell me what you think about this episode. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you didn't like. See, I'm already practicing self awareness, that feedback. I'm willing to receive it and evaluate what it is that you have to say from an objective standpoint so that I can be better and get better at doing this so that I can give y'all my all. Because that's what I want to do. I want to give you my absolute best. So I want to hear from you. You can also submit topics pretty much on any platform that has a comment section because I'll be looking at them and reading them. But all those fields, you can go to my website to the contacts us section of my website on that page and submit it. Give me ideas about topics, even your feedback, things that you want to hear, learn about, discuss, so that I can create, content around those things. Okay. So I think we have covered everything. I got it out the way. My first episode is officially a wrap. So I thank you so much for your support. So there we go. But let me leave you, with this. Remember, you are fearfully and wonderfully made by God for a greater purpose. Okay? You are his greatest workmanship. So when he puts that quality seal on your life, that signifies to the world that you're worthy, that you're valuable. Okay? So own it, you know, just believe it and don't let anybody tell you anything different. Okay? Now go on about y'all day. Go forth and do great things. Okay? Until next time, I'm signing off. Sincerely, Dee Dee.